The wrestling world has been buzzing for the last few months about Ricky Starks. His status in AEW seemingly has gone downhill. Tony Khan does not want to use him on television, and everybody's been wondering, when the hell is he gonna get out of AEW? We all know where he's going to end up, but when is he going to show up in WWE? We finally got some sunlight on this story last night live during TNT, and we will go over what the latest is on Ricky Starks today on Off the Script. Also, we got news on Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW's imminent TV deal. We got the very latest from Fightful in regards to that and where they stand on a TV rights deal. John Cena signs a new WWE contract. What does that mean after he just announced his retirement in 2025? Kenny Omega update on his health and when he could see an in-ring return. And Mercedes opens up, yes, Mercedes Mone opens up that she had every intention to show up in WWE and return at WrestleMania 39. What happened? All this on today's Off the Script. We'll start with John Cena. John Cena's retiring in 2025. Fan speculation has the internet wrestling community booking how they would have John Cena retire, who he would wrestle, when he would wrestle those said individuals, what his WrestleMania match would be. Does he win number 17? Does he win the Intercontinental Championship, a championship that he's never won? News broke today that John Cena has signed an extension to remain with the WWE after 2025. What does that mean? Just because John Cena plans to retire from in-ring action after 2025 doesn't mean he's going to wrestle. He will be staying with the company for the long run. Cena's retirement from in-ring competition in WWE was announced at Money in the Bank earlier this summer in a surprise appearance at the show. Cena stated that at the Royal Rumble, it will be his last. Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania 2025 will be his last of those specific events. Now, John Cena said, and I quote, "I am a champion of the brand. I love the company. It is my home. They are my family. Even after 2025, I've already signed an extension to remain as a member of the WWE family for the near, mid, and long-term future. I don't think there will be a beat of my heart where WWE blood doesn't come out of it. That said, without them, I don't exist," end quote. Cena noted that he hopes the tour is successful, which it will be, and memorable, which it will be. He said he doesn't want to stay too long, and fans see his in-ring skills diminish over time, which I think we've kind of already seen with his last couple of appearances on WWE television. This doesn't mean that John Cena is going to be wrestling after 2025. Next year is his final year. So if you guys are making plans to go and fly out to any of these WWE major events coming up next year, it's going to be the last opportunity to see John Cena, because after 2025, he's not going to be like The Undertaker or Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair or any of these guys that say they're going to retire and then they end up coming back 2 or 3 years later. When John Cena says he's done, I firmly believe John Cena is done. We're not going to see the "you can't see me." We're not going to see the colorful, bright shirts. We're not going to see the jorts. We're not going to see anything in regards to John Cena in an in-ring aspect. He said it himself. The only time you'll see me, if you see me back on television, will be in a fancy suit and not in the John Cena getup. John Cena will remain with the WWE just like Stone Cold Steve Austin has, just like The Rock has, just like The Undertaker has, and all the legends that retire at that level, they're not going anywhere else. WWE will just never allow that to happen. He will remain with the WWE. When they need him, they will market him. When they need him to make an appearance, he will be there. When he needs to show up for the Hall of Fame, he'll be there. When there's an anniversary show or an anniversary of a specific PLE, he will be there. I mean, this is an easy win for WWE. Sign John Cena, lock him down till after he retires for life, and they market him whenever they need him, and he's still a part of the WWE family. I mean, I don't know why people are making this into a big deal. He's not wrestling after 2025. After his WWE run in 2025, he's not wrestling anywhere else. He's not going to AEW. He's not going on a fucking excursion in Japan. John Cena's done. This is simply a business move to keep John Cena's name within the WWE family, to market him and continue to make money off of him, while at the same time he makes money off of WWE, where he began his career. This is not as big of a deal as the internet wrestling community is making it. I'm very excited to see John Cena and his retirement tour. I book him at WrestleMania against Randy Orton. I book him on that first show for Netflix against CM Punk. I book him against Gunther at SummerSlam in the chase for number 17 and that World's Heavyweight Championship. Who his final opponent is, that's where I'm kind of drawing a blank. I don't really know what they do there, but we'll see what happens, man. WWE's going to have a major boom in business. If they're not hot already, WWE is going to continue that with the retirement tour of one of the greatest of all time in John Cena. Speaking of WrestleMania, Mercedes Mone, the current AEW TBS champion. She will be wrestling Britt Baker this Sunday at AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium in a match that is ice cold coming in, but hopefully they turn up the heat on Sunday night. Mercedes, in the latest edition of her Mone magazine newsletter, Mercedes Mone had an interesting revelation about her plans to return to WWE if she did not join AEW. She departed the company in May of 2022, and that was due to a disagreement with Vince McMahon before going to New Japan the following January. There, she made her debut at Wrestle Kingdom 17 on January 4, 2023. The following year, she signed with AEW. In the newsletter, Mone noted that she planned on being in WWE for WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. However, things changed once AEW President Tony Khan invited her to All In at Wembley Stadium that same year. She says this in the newsletter. The funny thing is that before last year's All In, I attended the LA Rams game at the new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Kevin and I were there, of course, on the field for it. That's just how we roll. It was fun. But in the back of my head, I kept thinking, this is where WrestleMania is going to be. It's an enormous, beautiful stadium here in Tinseltown, the City of Angels. How could Snoop's first cousin and member of the Mandalorian not be here? Thus, at the end of the game, I leaned over to Kev and said, I need to be here for Mania. And at that time, that's truly how I felt and what my plan was. Very interesting revelation there from Miss Mercedes Mone. You know, a lot of people ran with fake news when Mercedes left WWE. We don't know exactly what happened, but I hope that you guys trust me enough to know that I went into the Lion's Den and I had information that came out of that specific instance from someone very close to the situation. And Mercedes, a lot of people ran with the fact that Mercedes walked out and she just had this diva moment, and a lot of people weren't really focusing on Naomi, who was also there, Trinity, who was also there. Mercedes, everybody ran with the fact or the story that Mercedes walked out and Naomi followed. But I always brought up the fact to everybody, why are people running with that? Because Mercedes in the headlines are going to get more clicks and more views and more interest than if Naomi walked out of WWE, because Mercedes is obviously the bigger name. No offense to Trinity at all. So who's to say that Naomi didn't walk out and Sasha or Mercedes didn't follow her and back up her friend and join her friend in that great defiant moment? Who's to say that Mercedes just wasn't being a great friend? She was also upset and had every reason to be upset, even before that moment, with Vince and Bruce and John Laurinaitis. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Then we get stories that WWE didn't want to pay Mercedes. They didn't want to pay Mercedes what she wanted. She wanted to stay. there were stories going around that current administration felt like Mercedes peaked at 30 years old and she wasn't as good as everybody thought she was. Now, she's not doing all that great. She ain't lighting the world on fire in AEW, but to be fair, a lot of it is creative. She's wrestled pretty well. She's wrestled basically what I remember she wrestling at, or at the level she's wrestling at in WWE. I mean, nothing's really changed there. She's still very good. It's all in the creative and the character work. You can't really correlate that to what she does in the ring. It's two different aspects. But they said she's peaked. Sasha Banks didn't peak at 30 years old. And that administration didn't want to pay her. Had nothing to do with Triple H. Dirt sheets. They ran with the story that, oh, that's false. The current administration didn't want to pay her. There's nobody that is going to look me directly in the fucking face and tell me that Triple H, Paul Levesque, didn't want to retain Sasha Banks, didn't want to pay Sasha Banks. Give me a fucking break. When Vince and all the shit that happened late last year around War Games, when everything started to come about, and you start to hear that Vince was in trouble, and you start to finally see the Janelle Grant lawsuit unravel right before our very eyes, and a change of power was happening in WWE. You don't think Mercedes wanted to go back to WWE? You don't think that Triple H wanted to retain the rights and the services of Mercedes Mone and keep Sasha Banks in WWE? By that time, she's already made her decision. By that time, she's already made her decision. She didn't know. She didn't know from May all the way to November that Vince McMahon was going to be ousted and Triple H was going to be running the show, because at that point in May, Triple H wasn't running the fucking show. He wasn't running shit. Give me a fucking break. Triple H had no power at the time that Mercedes and Trinity walked out of the company. It was all Vince. All Vince. Vince was still running the show. Vince had his hand in everything. Vince was booking the show from a remote location, and he wasn't there personally, but he still ran the show. He was still running creative. He was still running the business. It was only then, when Triple H finally was announced as the man behind creative, that Mercedes, it was too late for her to come back. She already made her decision. And then she showed up at New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 17, and that was it. The story was written then. And then we got her, Tony, all in, and now she's a part of the AEW roster. But give me a break with this shit. She was absolutely in the back of her mind wanting to go back to WWE. But then Tony comes calling. He gives her a blowaway offer that she cannot say no to. And WWE simply at that time was not going to match it. They let her go do what she needs to do with the hopes that she's going to end up coming back here anyway. There's not going to be much for her to do over there after the 3 years is up, and she's going to end up coming back home anyway. So what's the difference? We're growing talent within the NXT system. We got Roxanne Perez. We got Tiffany Stratton. We got Sol Ruca. We got all these ladies coming on up. Kalani Jordan. They got a fucking a gold mine of women. If Mercedes wants to go do what she wants to do for 3 years, we'll be fine without her for 3 years. But when she's ready to come home, Sasha Banks will be back right at the top of the card. Do I have any problem, or you guys rather have any problem with what I've said here? Any more fucking questions? Here's your fucking history lesson for the week. Don't let anybody steer you otherwise. Also, Ricky Starks. And then we'll end with the Warner Brothers AEW TV rights deal. Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has been camped out outside WWE headquarters for several months, waiting for a phone call on his flight and itinerary down to Orlando, Florida. He wants to be in WWE. He's got great friends in WWE, and he knows that AEW has basically driven him so far down the creative hole that there's no way for Ricky Starks to dig himself out of it. Fightful first reported that the breaking up of Big Bill and that makeshift tag team that made no sense. Big Bill and Ricky Starks were supposed to feud and break up. Ricky Starks was pitched this idea. He turned it down. He was against this because Starks did not think Big Bill losing a feud with him would benefit Big Bill. Shit creative. Instead, he wanted to have an amicable split with Big Bill. Various media outlets have reported that he is expected to go to WWE once Starks is free and clear of his AEW deal. The company reportedly has interest in Ricky Starks and has had interest in Ricky Starks for many, many months. A social media rumor went around on Twitter, thanks to my guy, Salamonster, where he broke the news first live on Tuesday Night Titans, episode 62 last night, and then people ran with it. I'm not surprised people are watching our show because we're fucking great. We got the news that Ricky Starks may have already been a free agent. However, neither AEW nor Starks have publicly commented on his status within the promotion. I don't know why AEW would say shit, and Ricky Starks is certainly not going to say shit on where he's going to end up. There have also been no reports confirming his departure at all. However, Fightful reported that there is significant interest. No shit, man. Man, those $5 is going a long way, man. Like, we didn't know that already. Significant interest within NXT to bring Ricky Starks to the brand whenever he becomes available. Now, both Cody Rhodes and Jade Cargill, two of Starks' good friends, have spoken highly about Starks and his work in the ring. And Jade even posted on her IG stories that she was training with Ricky as of late and out to dinner with Ricky. Man, those IG stories now kind of open up a brand new context, right? Ricky was out to dinner with Jade and a bunch of friends. Sounds like to me he finally had a contract that expired and he's free and willing to do whatever he wants. And they were out celebrating over a nice candlelit dinner at a nice fancy restaurant. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. Listen, this is not new information. Jason broke this news last night. People ran with it. Everybody was trying to pick up on where they heard it first. You heard it first on Tuesday Night Titans from the Solid Monster. This is not new information, though. I think everybody with a logical brain in their head realized that Ricky Starks was going to go to WWE. Where he shows up, I don't know. When he shows up, I don't know. It could be one of two places. If you're asking me where I would debut Ricky Starks, it's one of two places. I prefer one over the other. One, we just got a main event announced with Joe Hendry and Ethan Page for the NXT Championship at No Mercy next Sunday. Does he show up at No Mercy? That would be a big deal. I don't really see anything big happening at that show unless they give the World Championship to Joe Hendry, which I'm not really opposed to that happening. Does he show up there? Or with the October 1st and October 8th, I believe those are the dates, for the first two episodes of NXT on the CW, they will be emanating from Chicago and St. Louis in back-to-back weeks at major arenas in those cities. They will not be at the Performance Center. Does WWE debut Ricky Starks on one of those shows, maybe in Chicago with CM Punk, who he has spoken very fondly of? And they were supposed to be in a feud, right, on AEW television, but then Punk got fired and they had to switch plans. Ricky Starks was supposed to wrestle Punk at All Out, and then Bryan Danielson took his place, which ended up being a tremendous strap match at All Out last year. Does he debut on that show? That's what I'm specifically saving him for. I don't know what he would do at No Mercy, but the other thing is, if they do debut him on one of those shows, I do feel it is possibly going to be overshadowed. Ricky Starks is going to be there. I would assume Julia is going to be there. I would assume Stephanie Vicaire is going to be there. It's going to be a loaded show. It's going to be a loaded couple of weeks for NXT, two of the biggest shows in the company's history happening in St. Louis and in Chicago. But I'm more opting to do the Ricky Starks debut in Chicago right alongside CM Punk showing up on NXT. No Mercy sounds good in theory, but it really doesn't make any sense for him to just show up unless they have a solid plan for him. We've waited all this time. Why not wait just another month and a half and get him there in Chicago and debut him in front of a bigger audience, in front of more eyes when they move to the CW network? So I think that's what I'm doing, but this is all known information already. I think we all know where he's going to end up. It's just a matter of when and where for Ricky Starks. Positive news on Kenny Omega coming out of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Months after disappearing from TV, Omega made a few appearances on TV to further the Elite's storyline before getting surgery for diverticulitis, which, if he wasn't diagnosed when he was, which would have been something like a 50% chance of death for Kenny Omega. This happened back in December of 2023. He did make some appearances on TV. He did push the storyline, which right now is a big fail for AEW. It was previously noted that Kota Ibushi will be returning with Omega when the former AEW World Heavyweight Champion is ready to return. Looks like they may be building towards the Young Bucks versus Omega and Ibushi, potentially. I could see that happening and saving that for All In next year, being a major match for All In next year at Arlington and AEW All In Texas. In Ibushi's case, Ibushi has been sidelined with his own injury. He's worked on some matches in Japan, but his AEW status is pending on Omega's. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer reported that Omega is training with moderate intensity. However, he still has weakness in the abdominal area and hasn't been given clearance to take any bumps whatsoever. There is still no timeline for his in-ring return. He's working out. That's better than it was last week, and Omega is slowly on the road to recovery. There's no reason to rush his progress, though I miss him. I'm sure the AEW faithful miss him. I think he's one of the last beacons of fucking the true heart and soul of AEW, and when he's on TV, you just get a natural sense of that, and I desperately miss that on AEW television because the only way we're getting that right now is somewhat with Will Ospreay because he's just so enriched in what they bring to the table, and MJF, and that's it. No, and I got to give my guy Adam Page credit. He is fucking phenomenal. He's doing some of the best work anywhere in pro wrestling, and I got to give Swerve his flowers too. He's just killed it. The last couple of months, he's just been on fire, and I can't wait for Omega to get back, man. Again, he's one of the last true beacons of the heart and soul of AEW in a company that has lost their identity and has lost their vision, and I don't really recognize this AEW from the AEW that we all started out loving. And Kenny Omega is desperately wanted back on television, so I wish him nothing but the best and a speedy recovery back to television. And finally, guys, we'll end with this. AEW and the Warner Brothers TV rights deal has some news. We got an update from Fightful. They received Did AEW. Another offer from Warner Brothers Discovery. Previous offers said to be at least double as current TV deal. Now, Tony Khan and David Zaslav, they were together for the games, the Olympic Games in Paris, France. They planned to meet. Something that had been planned for months. That happened, and Khan later acknowledged having a great meeting with David Zaslav. Fightful Select is reporting that Warner Brothers sources said there is still some red tape to get through, but another offer for a long-term television deal was recently made to the promotion, and they feel very confident about it. The latest deal came after the meeting with Zaslav and Tony Khan in Paris. The report noted that one Warner Brothers source called the offer extensive. Whatever that means, we don't know. But didn't elaborate on what that meant outside of saying the terms of the deal were literally extensive, but that the offer is in AEW's hands and they are now reviewing it. AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery seemed optimistic that a deal would be agreed to, but Fightful didn't hear of when an announcement could be made. There's only two instances where this announcement will be made. Either this weekend after All In, or they save it to go hand in hand with the 5-year celebration of AEW on Warner Brothers Network. The only other place that it could be announced is that week or that weekend or right before Dynamite or maybe on Dynamite that week, celebrating 5 years. That's it. It's either one or the other. That's my prediction. Now, sources said that before the most recent offer, Warner Brothers offered at least double the amounts of their previous deal to AEW. Now, the figures are not public, so we don't know if at least double is for the same amount of programming or if additional elements are involved. We don't know. We don't know if Rampage is still a part of the deal, which is largely a waste of fucking television time. We don't know if Collision is a part of that. We don't know if Collision is getting a third hour. We don't know if Dynamite is getting a third hour. We don't know if this includes another new show for AEW. We don't know any of those specifics. We don't know the original amount in which the current deal is currently operating at. We don't know. There were rumors going around 2020 that AEW signed an extension with Warner Brothers Discovery in the realm of $40 to $50 million. Now, if it's double the original deal, like this report says, that would put them around $100 million. And you multiply that over 4 years, that would be $400 million for AEW. Is it going to be that much? I don't know. We don't know what the original deal was. 40, 45 million, could be 30, 35 million. We don't know. We don't know exactly what that number is. But whatever the number is, whatever the realm of number, it will be doubled for the new TV deal. And then you tack on 4, possibly 5 years for an extension. And AEW is looking at $300 million, $400 million over a 5-year span. So we don't know what the numbers are or what this deal previously that they're operating at, we don't know what that number is. Now, Fightful was told that any and all combinations and possibilities have been explored regarding AEW programming. Warner Brothers sources noted that the company has made inquiries with AEW as of last year about the possibility of shifting a new pay-per-view strategy. We don't know what that means either. Everybody figures that this is going to include a streaming deal. Everybody figures that pay-per-views for AEW, which have now expanded to 9 over the course of 12 months in the calendar year, are going to be streamed on Max. You have to pay whatever the price for Max is, and then you get the access to AEW's full library. You get Ring of Honor. We don't know. We don't also know in regards to Ring of Honor, we don't know if Ring of Honor is simply going to be on the Max app or if Ring of Honor is going to be on a time block on a Warner network. We don't really know. They're going to get their own time slot. They're going to get their own show. They're going to get their own network. We don't know. We don't know anything about that. But Max, you pay for one price for the Max app, and then you get all of AEW's catalog, Ring of Honor, and pay-per-views like you get with Peacock and WWE. I pay a premium price for Peacock, $11.99, $12.99, whatever it is, and then you get all access to the WWE PLEs 13 times a year. We don't know if it's going to be that model. But Peacock's extension with WWE or Peacock's deal with WWE, that ends in 2026. There were rumors that WWE would be seeking other options. Do they go on Netflix? Do they move the entire library and their pay-per-views on Netflix? Do they go to an ESPN model like UFC, where TKO is UFC and WWE together, and Endeavor owns UFC? Their pay-per-view model is they stream on ESPN Plus. You sign up for ESPN Plus. You get the benefits of the ESPN Plus app. But if you want to watch a UFC pay-per-view at a premium, you got to pay the $80 that event comes in at. They're thinking about doing that with WWE, not across every pay-per-view because that would be fucking ridiculous. Nobody's paying $70 to watch fucking a 2.5-hour 5-match show. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to want that. That's just going to be a huge, it's going to be a shitstorm on social media and in the community. WWE, though, could do that model with a Royal Rumble, with a WrestleMania, with a SummerSlam, with a Survivor Series, with a Money in the Bank. And now we're in the discussion with WWE to be taking those major events. We've seen WrestleMania go 2 nights. We've seen the announcement that SummerSlam is going 2 nights. It's without question that WWE is trying this out with SummerSlam in hopes that we get a 2-night Royal Rumble, that we get a 2-night Survivor Series. I could see WWE doing the men's Rumble on one night and the women's Rumble on one night. I could see WWE doing the men's War Games match on one night and the women's War Games match. Men's Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank. That would give WWE the perception that fans are willing to pay one set price for 2 pay-per-views, and it's not going to be as strenuous on their wallet to buy one show at $70 and you get 2.5 hours, 5 matches, and then you feel like you got robbed. AEW could certainly do that. That's the model that I think they're talking about here. Strategic options for pay-per-view. Now, that would obviously affect the TV deal, but if AEW is going to go all in and get a huge package for Max, big streaming deal, a part of this contract, then Warner's going to have to pay Tony Khan whatever he feels is the right number to offset the pay-per-view buys that they're not going to get because you're going to be taking them off traditional pay-per-view. Now, if they get a streaming deal and they are going to put the pay-per-views on Max and you still got to pay a premium price, then the overall TV rights package is going to come in at a lower number. So we don't know what that number is, and we don't know what strategy they're going to opt to take here. But if I'm a fan, I'm looking at just move all the shit to Max and give me one set price to buy the Max app and subscribe to Max, and then I get all of AEW the way that I want over the next 5 years. Nobody wants to be paying $50 per 9 times, 10 times a year. And AEW, you know, is going to go 12 months. Right now it's at 9. I could see them doing 12 pay-per-views, just like WWE does. So we don't know what any of this means. We don't know what direction they're going to go in. We don't know what is a part of this deal. All we know is that the original offer that they are currently sitting at, this new offer is at least double. And I do feel that when all is said and done, my prediction is that AEW will get anywhere between $125 and $150 million per year for their new TV rights deal. Again, we don't know what that means. There could be a third hour of Dynamite involved there. There could be a third hour of Collision. There could be a new show. We don't know. But that is my prediction. Anywhere between $125 million and $150 million for a TV rights deal per year. And they're probably looking at anywhere between $350 and $500 million for the 4 or 5 years that they are signed to with Warner Brothers. That's what I'm thinking. Tony Khan is a shrewd businessman. He's a very analytic individual. Tony Khan is not going to go into a meeting with David Zack, and I know you hear all the horror stories about them hemorrhaging money and them in debt. Tony Khan is going to go into this, and the one thing that is on his mind more than anything is how do I make AEW a profitable company? Tony Khan has exhausted. I'm not there. I don't fucking know a goddamn thing, but if I know anything about Tony Khan and his analytical mind, Tony Khan went into these meetings, and the one thing on his mind was, how do I get AEW to be a profitable company? He did not leave those meetings without AEW being in the green and making money at the end of this deal. That much I know for sure. But I can't wait for this shit to be over, man. I'm tired of hearing the word imminent. I'm tired of seeing pictures and memes of Tony Khan wearing a fucking Warner Brothers hat. Tired of it. Just give me the fucking TV deal. Announce the motherfucker already. And the one thing that I hope we don't get is them getting lazy because they got their fucking money, they got their TV deal. The one thing I don't want is them to continue to be lazy with television. This does not give them the excuse now that they proved everybody wrong and they're not dying and all the trolls. Ha ha ha, AEW is going to be around for the next 5 years, man. We showed you. Now this is an opportunity to even step up your game further. Don't get complacent. Don't get lazy. When Vince made his money and Vince got his TV deals, the product never got better because they knew, they anticipated, and got their money. Tony Khan is going to get his money. That doesn't mean we get to be lazy now. You get your money and the real work begins. They're not paying you to be fucking lazy. They're paying you to write better television. They're paying you to write captivating television that is going to be better than the numbers that you're currently bringing in now. That's what I hope for. Thank you guys very much for all your support. If you guys missed anything on the channel, everything you need is on the homepage. Hit that thumbs up. If you liked the video, like the video. 1,000 likes is the goal. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And I'll see you guys live tonight with Jesse. We got a lot to say, man. This Dax Hardwood situation, man, we are going to blow some shit up tonight. AEW Dynamite live with the post show right here on Off the Script following Cardiff AEW Dynamite tonight on OTS. I'll see you guys later.